Like Keith Porter told us in the interview that I did with him a couple months ago, he absolutely thinks that this could be her MVP season in just her second year.
I am really excited, and I didn't come here for the spotlight. I didn't come here to have more eyes. I came here to win.
20-point game. DeWanna Bonner has never scored 40 in a game. She could do it right there. 41.
They just have to be more consistent, especially on the defensive end.
And Natasha Howard having her.
But what irritates me is that no one came to Caitlin Clark's defense in that moment.
We won't get this again. There's no saving. There's no conserving. You leave everything that you have out there on the floor.
New Fever head coach Stephanie White returns to Indiana with one of the most legendary basketball resumes in the history of the sport.
That can discourage Alyssa Thomas from making some of her great passes.
No one picks up Clark, who cans the three.
Yeah, sorry, they were better than the Sun. So after the first 10 games, I know when you look at the standings, that has to be taken into account. But after they figured it out, they were the fourth best team in the WNBA. They were better than they did better than the Storm, they did better than the Sun. They added experience into DeWanna Bonner and Natasha Howard, as well as re-signing Kelsey Mitchell. The remaining core of last year's team in Clark, Aaliyah Boss, and Lexie Hull will now have mentorship from these players. The big upgrade was the hiring of Stephanie White. But expect Fever to continue to put pieces together this season, inching closer to full potential as a full team with a Clark lean team. 6. You think the Seattle Storm weren't even better than the Fever last year?
The energy crackling around Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever right now, it feels less like typical sports buzz and more like a seismic event. We're standing on the precipice of a season that is, without hyperbole, being called the most anticipated in the history of any single team in the WNBA. The air is thick with expectation, with questions shouted from every corner of the sports world. Can the Fever go from a rebuilding team to championship contenders? Is Caitlin Clark, in just her second year, truly ready to seize the MVP crown? These aren't just hypothetical debates. They are the dominant storyline entering the year, driven by a player who has single-handedly shifted the league's trajectory. But amidst this swirling vortex of hype and hope, a darker current is already forming. Before a single regular season game has even been played, before the real wins and losses start piling up, the groundwork for future dismissals is being laid. The excuses? They're already being loaded into the chamber, ready to fire if Clark and the Fever actually achieve what many now believe is possible. It's a strange, almost preemptive form of narrative warfare, adding a layer of tension to a season already bursting with drama. To understand the magnitude of what's happening, you have to appreciate that this isn't just an uptick in interest. It's a complete transformation of the WNBA's public profile, centered squarely on this team. We're witnessing media coverage that feels unprecedented in its scale and intensity, wall-to-wall analysis, profiles, and breakdowns that simply weren't standard fare before. The tangible evidence is everywhere. Arenas that sell out in minutes the moment the Fever come to town, forcing venue changes just to accommodate the demand. National broadcast schedules that feature Indiana more prominently than any team before, bringing eyes to the league from demographics that previously paid little attention. Every single game, whether home or away, is poised to be an event, played in front of raucous, sold-out crowds generating noise levels that rival playoff atmospheres. This isn't just hype. It's a fundamental shift in visibility and engagement that the league has chased for decades. And this sudden, explosive level of attention hasn't just materialized from thin air. It's been earned through deliberate moves to build a winning foundation. The Fever's off-season strategy wasn't about tinkering. It was about injecting proven talent and experience into a young, promising core. The additions weren't minor footnotes. They were significant acquisitions designed to immediately raise the team's competitive floor and ceiling. Bringing in veterans like Damiris Dantas, Natasha Howard, and Lexie Hull provides not just scoring and defense, but invaluable court intelligence and a winning pedigree. These are players who have competed for championships, who understand the pressure of big moments, and who know how to perform when the stakes are highest. Adding Erica McCall is particularly noteworthy. She brings a physical presence and a willingness to protect teammates, addressing a clear vulnerability seen last year when Clark sometimes absorbed hard fouls with little immediate response from her peers. These new faces aren't just skilled players. They are crucial pieces intended to provide the kind of support structure that can allow a generational talent like Clark to truly flourish, ensuring she doesn't have to carry the entire load alone. But the transformation wasn't limited to the players on the court. Perhaps the most critical piece of the Fever's offseason puzzle, and one that speaks volumes about their intentions, was the change at the head coaching position. Moving on from the previous staff and hiring Stephanie White signals a clear desire for a different strategic direction and a higher level of leadership presence. White isn't just a coach with WNBA experience. She's a former Fever player, a champion, and a respected strategist known for her sharp X's and O's and her ability to connect with players while holding them accountable. The whispers from last season sometimes pointed to a perceived lack of clear structure or consistent in-game adjustments, even subtly acknowledged by Clark herself at times. White is expected to bring a sophisticated system, better utilize the team's diverse talents, and provide the kind of decisive guidance that can help the Fever close out tight games, something they struggled with at times last year despite their talent. This isn't just a coaching change. It's an upgrade to a championship-level mind capable of navigating the unique pressures and expectations now firmly placed on this franchise. And the impact of this move is already showing up in some surprising places. With all these significant changes, a transformed roster, a high-caliber coach, and unprecedented hype, where do the experts see the Fever landing? This is where the narrative takes a confusing turn, revealing a stark divide in perception. On one hand, you have some traditional media power rankings that seem almost hesitant, placing the Fever squarely in the middle of the pack, perhaps 5th or 6th. These projections often feel cautious, as if waiting for the team to prove it on the court before giving them their due. But then you look at the betting markets, the places where real money is being wagered based on sophisticated analysis and data, and the picture is dramatically different. Sportsbooks across the board have the Indiana Fever listed as a top 4 favorite, sometimes even 3rd, to win the entire WNBA championship. This isn't a minor discrepancy, it's a fundamental disagreement on the team's immediate potential. Why such a gap? It might be because the odds makers are factoring in elements that go beyond traditional analysis. Beyond the obvious additions and the coaching change, there are subtle, almost hidden advantages that could significantly impact the Fever season, advantages that some experts might be overlooking. One crucial factor is the team's offseason training regimen. Unlike many WNBA players who compete overseas during the league's break, a large portion of the Fever's core, including their star player, chose to remain stateside. This isn't just about avoiding jet lag, it's about dedicated rest, focused individual development, and, critically, months spent training and building chemistry together in Indianapolis before training camp even officially begins. This uninterrupted period of working together, building bonds, and implementing early concepts with the new coaching staff provides a significant head start that other teams, whose players are returning from demanding international seasons, won't have. Then there's the extraordinary crowd factor. Every away game for the Fever will essentially feel like a home game, played in front of deafening crowds cheering them on. This creates a uniquely favorable environment, putting immense pressure on opponents and, perhaps more importantly, giving the Fever players a consistent jolt of energy, confidence, and a taste of the high-stakes atmosphere they will face in the playoffs. These factors, continuity, rest, and an unparalleled psychological edge from the crowd, are powerful differentiators. All these pieces aligning for the team naturally lead the conversation to the individual who is the undeniable engine of it all, Caitlin Clark. Her rookie season was statistically historic, but this year, with a fortified roster and a strategic coach, the stage is set for her to transcend those numbers and make a legitimate push for the league's top individual honor. The betting markets are bullish not just on the Fever, but specifically on Clark's MVP chances. She's not just in the conversation. In many places, she's listed as the outright favorite, positioned ahead of established legends who already possess MVP trophies. This suggests a belief that her talent, combined with the enhanced support system, will allow her to reach an even higher level of performance and impact. Her MVP potential isn't just a talking point. It's reflected in the actual money being wagered, a powerful indicator of how her trajectory is perceived. Yet, Despite the logical alignment of factors pointing towards her individual and team success, a curious and frankly cynical counter-narrative is already actively being constructed. This is where the conversation moves from exciting speculation to outright controversy, the deliberate manufacturing of preloaded excuses. It's a tactic becoming increasingly visible in the discourse surrounding Caitlin Clark. It's the attempt to preemptively diminish her achievements, to build an escape route for critics who don't want to see her succeed, by suggesting any success she finds won't be legitimate. The mechanism is simple. Create reasons now why a future accomplishment won't truly count. We're seeing this play out with arguments like, it's just hype, or she's a media creation, or the insidious suggestion that she benefits from some unfair, undefined bias. A prime example emerged recently, involving an analyst attempting to explain how Clark might win MVP. The theory put forward wasn't based on her expected performance or the strength of her team, but on the idea of voter fatigue, the notion that voters would simply get tired of awarding another top player the MVP and hand it to Clark instead. This argument, beyond being factually incorrect regarding the other player's recent MVP history, reveals the core tactic, creating a narrative where Clark's success is attributed to external factors or the lack of something else, rather than her own merit. It's an attempt to lay the groundwork for dismissing her MVP award before she's even had a chance to win it, a clear indication that for some, seeing her reach the pinnacle would be a devastating blow to their existing narratives. And that brings us to why this potential season, and a potential MVP award for Caitlin Clark, matters so much beyond the individual and team accolades. Her success directly confronts and, potentially, dismantles the various narratives that have been used to critique or dismiss her throughout her career. An MVP trophy isn't just an award, it's a statement. It says you were the best player in the league based purely on your performance, your impact, and your team success. It renders arguments about hype, or bias, or only getting attention because of X, Y, or Z significantly harder to make with a straight face. This season has the potential to be a turning point, not just for one player or one team, but for the entire WNBA. If Clark leads the Fever to significant success, if she captures an MVP, she has the power to truly bridge the gap between the league's dedicated fan base and a massive, mainstream audience that is now paying attention. This could be the catalyst that launches the WNBA into a new tier of cultural relevance, drawing in casual fans and solidifying its place in the broader sports landscape, potentially ushering in an era defined by her impact. But we already know the script that's waiting in the wings. If the Fever become a dominant force, they'll be labeled a super team, as if talent accumulation is somehow unfair. If Clark wins MVP, it will be argued that she had help, ignoring that literally every MVP has talented teammates, or that it was simply media favoritism. If viewership records continue to fall, it will be dismissed as a niche phenomenon driven by a specific demographic, rather than the league's burgeoning popularity. The excuses are primed, ready to be deployed on social media, and sports commentary shows the second success is achieved. Yet, despite this predictable backlash, the underlying reality will remain. Millions are watching, new fans are being created, and the league's visibility is skyrocketing, largely because of number 22. At the end of the day, Caitlin Clark has repeatedly stated her focus isn't the spotlight or the debates, it's winning a championship. The ingredients are all there for an absolutely historic season for both her and the Indiana Fever. While the noise from the skeptics and the excuse makers will undoubtedly be loud, the potential for her dominance to become undeniable feels more real than ever before. The moment of truth is approaching, and it will be fascinating, and perhaps uncomfortable for some, to see how the narratives adapt when confronted with the undeniable reality of success on the court.